Hello everyone. Today we are going to study My Last Duchess by Robert Browning. We will begin with a short introduction to Robert Browning. Robert Browning was born in 1812 and died in 1889. He was a major poet of the Victorian age. He had very little schooling, but he acquired a lot of knowledge, particularly about medieval and early Renaissance Italy. Two of his best known longer works are The Ring and the Book and Pippa Passes. Among his shorter poems are The Pied Piper of Hamelin, The Last Ride Together, Evelyn Hope, Rabbi Ben Ezra, and The Grammarian's Funeral. His poetry is marked by vigor and ruggedness rather than by delicate artistry and by a robust optimism. He exhibits a deep understanding of human nature in his poems. His style is quite compressed and makes for obscurity. This poem is a dramatic monologue in which the Duke of Ferrara is talking about his first wife or Duchess who dies under suspicious circumstances shortly after marrying him. In the poem, the Duke is speaking to an emissary or an agent who is negotiating the Duke's next marriage to the daughter of another powerful family. So, in this poem, the Duke of Ferrara talks to the messenger or the emissary of his future wife's family and tells him about his previous wife, that is, the last Duchess, as the title of the poem suggests. Now, throughout the poem, we see that the Duke reveals his own belief that women are objects to be controlled, possessed, and discarded. He subtly suggests what he did to his last wife. Now, this poem shows the jealousy and hatred of the Duke and also shows the cruel and cunning character of the Duke, who is an Italian Duke at the time of Renaissance. So this poem gives us a very striking picture of the mixture of refinement which the Duke is, as well as it shows us the immorality that marked Italian life in that period, that is the period of Renaissance. The Duke shows the messenger a painting and he tells him, "That's my last Duchess painted on the wall." He tells the messenger that this is the picture of my last Duchess who has been painted in this painting, looking as if she were alive. He says that this is a very good painting, and in this painting, my Duchess is looking as if she were alive and not dead. I call this piece a wonder. He says that this is a wonderful piece of painting. Now, Fra Pendol's hands worked busily a day, and there she stands. He says that Fra Pendolf, who was the painter of this painting, his hands worked very busily one day. And there she stands, and there is the painting of the Duchess. "Wilt please you sit and look at her?" He tells the emissary to please sit and look at her painting carefully. Then he says, "I said, Fra Pendolf, by design." he tells the emissary that I called Fra Pendolf. Fra means a friar. By design means purposely. He said that I purposely chose a friar or a monk to paint this painting of the last Duchess. We can say that in a way he hints and he wants to say that his future wife too should pay attention towards her husband only and nobody else. For never read strangers like you that pictured countenance. He tells the messenger that strangers like you, when they look at this picture, when they see the face of the Duchess, the depth and passion of its earnest glance, they see the depth and passion in the sincere looks of this painting. But to myself they turned. He says that these people, those who looked at this painting, they turned to myself and they wished to ask, as and seemed as they would ask me. Now in brackets he has written, since none puts by the curtain I have drawn for you, but I, that I am the only person who can reveal from where this earnest glance came in the eyes of the Duchess in the painting. I am the only person who can tell you about the secret behind this earnest glance. And he says that people would turn and ask me if they durst, if they could, how such a glance came there, how such an earnest glance came there in the painting. So not the first are you to turn and ask thus. He tells the emissary or the messenger that you are not the first person to turn and ask me this question. What is the question? That from where did this earnest glance came into the eyes of the Duchess? Then he himself answers the question. Sir, it was not her husband's presence only called that spot of joy into the Duchess' cheek. He says that it was not because of my presence or her husband's presence only that this spot of joy or flush came into the cheek of the Duchess. Perhaps Fra Pendolf chanced to say. He says that this flush on her cheeks could be a result of Fra Pendolf saying by chance, her mantle laps over my lady's wrist too much. He says that maybe Fra Pendolf might have said that the loose cloak that the lady is wearing is covering her wrist too much. Or he might have even said, paint must never hope to reproduce the faint half flush that dies along her throat. He says that Fra Pendolf might have even said that paint or color should never hope or expect to reproduce the faint half flush that is dying along the throat of the Duchess, that comes near her throat. Such stuff was courtesy, she thought. He tells the messenger that such things which Fra Pendolf might have said were considered to be courtesy by his wife, the last Duchess, and cause enough and reason enough for calling up that spot of joy. And this was the reason why that flush might have come on her cheeks. He said, she said, she had a heart. How shall I say? He says that she had a heart, and he says that I cannot explain. Too soon made glad, that her heart was very soon made happy, too easily impressed, and she was very easily impressed by people and by small, unimportant things. She liked whatever she looked on. She was a person who liked whatever she looked on, and her looks went everywhere. And he says that she looked everywhere. So this means that whatever she looked upon, she liked. Sir, it was all one. Then he tells him that everything was equally important for her. My favor at her breast, that is, my favor or the ornaments which he might have given to her, which she was wearing in her neck. The drooping of the daylight in the west. The dropping of the daylight in the west. That is the natural occurrences. The bough of cherries some officious fool broke in the orchard for her, or if someone unwanted person brought a bough of cherries for her, she was equally happy for that also. The white mule she rode with around the terrace, and the white mule with which she rode around the terrace of the palace. All these things, all and each, would draw from her alike the approving speech. She would equally approve, like, and praise all the things, or blush at least,